It's July the 6th. It's over 110 outside. So let's stay inside in the cool and look at some of these books on California native plants. Each of these books, except for the last one here, contains good information on California native plants. So the first one contains lots of information on plants, but also much more. It's got information on soil, on garden design, on garden styles, and a bunch of other things that are not contained in this second one. The second one, the Drought-Defying California Garden, and the subtitle shows what the emphasis of this book is. 230 native plants for a lush, low-water landscape. So the emphasis on this one is on the plants itself. It contains the earlier book contains all of that information, plus some other book, California Native Plants for the Garden. And it's actually very similar to this one in that they both contain very detailed information on individual plants. This one is arranged in alphabetical order based on botanical name, and it contains much of the same information, but neither one of these two contains all of the information of the other. And so I found them both very useful. If you've got these three books, what could this one possibly offer? The one by Nevin Smith. Well, I'll tell you. What this one offers is warnings and cautions about some of the finicky native plants. Some of the plants that don't do well in clay. Some of the plants that won't take any summer water. Most of us don't have gardens where we completely turn the water off, and yet there are some native plants that won't tolerate any summer water. So what he does is identify the most garden-friendly and the most reliable of the plants, and he gives you more information on that little narrow topic than the previous three books. This one's pretty obvious. This is about wildlife habitat gardening and attracting various kinds of birds and bees and critters into your garden. And it gives examples of various kinds of habitat gardens around the state and the kind of plants that they grow there and how they have performed and how successful they are. So what you do is you review them, you find ones that fit your situation, and then you can copy those ideas and therefore have a more successful habitat garden. This one by Fred Heath is kind of a classic, an introduction to Southern California butterflies, and this has got just about everything you'd ever want to know. You buy this book in the first place for butterfly identification, but it's got much more in it than that, including a list of host plants that will attract more butterflies to your garden. If you really want to have butterflies in your garden, you need butterfly host plants. This big giant right here is 600 pages, costs $60 by Bob Perry, Landscape Plants for California Gardens. It has California natives in it, but it also has just about every other plant that has ever been grown and sold in California. We're getting to some favorites here. These two, each of them by the California Native Plant Society. The first one goes around all the state from north, south, east to west and looks at all of the California landscapes, all of the plant communities, and gives you a broad panoramic view of all of them. And oh, did I mention it has photographs? You know, it's just an amazingly beautiful photographs. It's got interesting text, but the photographs show the beauty of the California landscape. Then what the heck does this one do? Well, this one zeroes in on particular locations. Particularly noteworthy or beautiful locations, and it once again covers, you know, all the mountains and coastal areas and valleys and deserts and everything. And if you're like me, you'll look there and you'll see, well, I've been to those few places, but you'll find many others that you haven't been to. And this gives you some really great ideas to venture out and find some of these other beautiful locations in California. The final book is not about California natives. This is by British landscape architect John Brooks, who just died 3 months ago. And he was a wonderful designer. I don't think I ever looked at one of his designs where I didn't come away from it feeling that it was fantastic and feeling inspired by it. So like everybody who deals in garden design theory, they're interested in unity, harmony, order, color palette, and all of those various things. But the one thing that he really emphasized was that in addition to all of that, there should be wildness in the garden. So in that sense, British landscape architect John Brooks is very similar to California native plant enthusiast Judith Larner Lowe in her book of about 20 years ago, Gardening with a Wild Heart. So Brooks emphasizes the wildness element, and Lowe emphasized the idea of gardening with a wild heart. So there they are, 10 books, probably more than you need, but if you had all of them, you would have a great library for all of the things that you might want to pursue in California native gardening. So there you have it. Go to Amazon, buy one, buy a couple, and in the heat of summer, sit back, read it, and start making plans for your fall native plant gardening.